All right, most filmmakers are not using AI wrong because they hate it. They're using it wrong because they don't know where the line is. So, my guest, Damion, I'm going to pitch it over to you. I want you to play on that. What do you think of that statement?
I mean, it's true. There's nothing else to say, right? It's definitely true. And I think they don't know the line is for so many reasons. Don't understand how the technology works, don't understand how it was created. They don't understand that there are ways to use it aside from writing your project or creating visuals. There are so many different uses for it that people have never explored. And so what they hear is this one thing, generative AI, and it's going to make filmmaking obsolete. And then they jump on that thing, but never bothered to learn the other piece. So it's 100% correct that people don't know where the line is, but the trick is to know where that line is. You have to actually inform yourself and learn about it. I mean, that's the sad truth.
Yeah, absolutely. We just had Cannes at the time of this recording. It's kind of wrapping up. And there's definitely been conversations. People have been weighing in from Demi Moore, Peter Jackson. Just today, I was reading a little bit on LinkedIn where John Favreau was all kind of weighing in. And basically, they wouldn't come out and say it outright that they were going to use it, but they basically said trying to go against it is not the right call. And I would definitely agree with that. We as filmmakers are not the one driving this conversation. Technology is driving it. It's going to pass us whether we want it to or not. So we're going to utilize the tools that are before us. But Damion, for people that don't know you, give us a little bit of your origin story of how you got here into filmmaking and then your exploration into AI and how you kind of educated yourself on it.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect segue into my origin story. I feel like a superhero. Uh, so for about 20 years, I've worked in data and analytics for film, TV, digital studios, you name it. And the one thing that I've always seen that was always consistent is there's an audience, and the audience is going to want what they want. And so many times I've seen in that filmmakers fighting about, well, my art and my thing and it should be this way and that's quality and this is not quality, and then talking down to the audience because you obviously don't have good taste, you don't like this thing. And at the end of the day, if you're in a business called the movie business or the film business, whatever you want to call it, it's still a business and you have to make things that people want to pay for and watch. And so many times I've seen people go down that rabbit hole of I'm the important one and not the audience. And it's actually a relationship. You have to work with the audience and give them some of what they want, but push the boundaries to bring new things into their world, right? So after doing that for about 20 years, one of the things that really was always a constant is, especially in data, we're touching on technology all the time, whether it's helping me track what you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, or whether it's building our own internal revenue tracking stuff or sales data from retailers. There was always a technology piece going into it, and we were always trying to get better. And working with filmmakers, a lot of the filmmakers are doing the same thing. I mean, James Cameron is always, hey, I invented this new thing. We're doing this new thing for my movie. We're going to try this. So technology and entertainment have always gone hand to hand, and that's been my experience there. But then on the creative side, the thing that makes me different is a lot of the folks who do what I did with data and analytics don't normally play on the creative side, and that's something that I do. I started off as a photographer, and there's a lot of directing that goes on in photography just to tell a story in a single image, and that takes a lot of work. And it dovetailed nicely into actually doing the video content, because while I started doing the photography, I started having magazines and people asking, can you do like an interview series? Can you record this? Can you make like a little short snippet or a short film around? And so it became more and more of the video being tied back to the final photo shoot, what I was doing. And in that, even when I started, my teacher made us use film. We had to use film. We couldn't use digital cameras. We had to learn how to do it. Then we used digital cameras. And in going through just the history of art and film and photography and in general, there's always a technological revolution that comes along and people are like, that's not art. It's going to destroy everything we do. And then we end up embracing it and using it and we create something new. And so the one thing that I saw, that the people who were successful in those times of transition were the ones who, instead of running from it, are calling it, some sort of a heretical travesty to art, were the people who took the time to understand what that technology was, what it was capable of doing, and how could it help them either improve their art, change their art, or create a new art that didn't exist before. Those people really did well, but they also shaped where that art went so that it didn't end up making them obsolete. It didn't end up taking their jobs. They created a new industry, a new job for themselves. And so just that conglomerate of experience fed into when AI first started to take over and people were all about it. 10 years ago, co-founded an AI company targeting film and TV studios, and it was for analytics. How can you track what people are watching, where they're watching it, and see what are the things, the messages that are really resonating with them, and with which audience, and then predict performance from that. So we were using AI to do that. But then 10 years ago, when we were talking about machine learning, actually, I guess 11 now, AI, machine learning, and people were didn't know what it was. It was big words, and they were, what is this natural language processing thing? What do you mean? And now you fast forward till today, and everyone's, suddenly an expert and knows about it. So I've always been primed for it. It's been something that's been interwoven throughout my career, and it's just getting better and better. And I've seen the uses beyond what a lot of people see at first blush. And now it's being able to see how can we use this for art, but beyond that, what are the practical applications for just like all the bajillion things you need to do for making a film administratively?
Yeah, no, I love the idea of using data analytics and AI together. Like you said, we've been doing that for a long time because you're trying to de-risk the opportunity to be able to figure out what's the market is going to yield. Why not use that information?
Mm-hmm.
We immediately, as filmmakers, go to the visual side of AI, to generative AI or Gen AI. There's a lot of them out there that are making waves. Cdance 2.0 is probably the biggest one, but there's
Yep.
others as well. What are you seeing people use it for outside of generative AI, but still in the filmmaking space?
Yeah, I mean, even still in the generative AI piece, people think it's making a movie, but we use it for trying to figure out like what should the look be and brainstorming, right? It's a great brainstorming tool where you can now give a visual
Right.
cue quickly to something that you're trying to express but couldn't actually visualize quickly. Outside of that, for research, that's been the biggest boon for me. Financing research, budget reviews, audience research, um, reviewing my pitch deck to make sure I didn't miss anything. Like, how can I refine this, make it tighter? Are there other examples? So just researching those administrative tasks that we have to do when we're trying to promote, sell, present our work, it's been incredibly useful and really helpful. And is it unethical to have AI review your budget? Like, what's the ethical quandary there, right? Like, is there something that I'm missing? Or is there a loophole that I should be checking in for, or an accounting piece in X state that I'm working in that I should be thinking of? Like those things are really helpful, and it helps you get to that without the 2 days of research and calling people and looking for stuff, right? So I think just that alone is huge, and that's not even getting to some of the ways where it can really help you be more efficient in your visual process or even your writing process.
Where are people getting it wrong? And I mean by that is maybe their presupposition of what they think it is. The stuff we've heard is it's stealing other people's works, versus what it actually is. Uh, there was, definitely some models it got out were being trained without the permission, but that also doesn't mean all models. Also, it's not taking, you're not training it to be Michelangelo and then suddenly it is Michelangelo and it's an exact Michelangelo. That's not what happens. It's taking data sets, input, zeros and ones, it's still a computer, and then it creates a style that has a human feel to it, just thus the artificial part of it. But where do you see people getting it wrong?
I think there are a couple of areas. The first is assuming that you have to use like a chat GPT or these big models that are, everyone knows. That's not true. I mean, I have a company, and one of the things we have is a local AI model. So now if you're writing and you want to brainstorm or go through your script, it's not being shared with anybody else. It's only on your computer. It's learning from you.
Yeah.
It's not connected to the internet, right?
Right.
So people don't even know that that's a possibility. They think you have to use Claude or Chat GPT or whatever these big models are that are kind of connected to all these data centers and servers, but you can actually do something locally with a model that's already built. So that's really simple and really easy, and it allows people to use it without the fear of, did I just lose my copyright? Is somebody else doing the thing with my idea? But I think the other place, and this is a hot take for a lot of people, but coming from photography, the way that we learned was studying other photographers. And so we might go and like, oh, look, Richard Avedon is my favorite photographer. You look at it and then you recreate that photo, right? I go with my camera, I recreate that photo, and I learn what that was and what that style was. And then eventually with time, I start to take a little bit of, Richard Avedon, and then I take a little bit of Usai and pull them all together. And now I synthesized my own style. But AI is doing that same process, but much more quickly. And it's the same with my writing. I read a lot of people and I like this style. I'm going to try and write like so and so. And so the computer is just doing the thing that people already do, but at a bigger scale. And so for me, that's not something that's unethical. Like every time someone checks out at the library, if they're checking something out at the library and making a photocopy of it and taking notes and trying to recreate it, are they stealing your work, or are they trying to learn to create their own style? Now, don't get me wrong. There are people who are lazy and use it as a shortcut. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
that's not true, but those people are also people who I can guarantee aren't going to be taking over the world by storm and have like this big career, right?
Yeah.
So I think people not knowing that it's possible to do it ethically, safely, not connected to the internet, which also uses less electricity. So you're not like wasting a glass of water every time you do a prompt. But then there's also the world of that work is already happening. The internet has already done that. It's already indexed it. You can create a bot that crawls and does something similar. It's just made it faster and given it to the masses. So I think that the key is, how do you want to use it? How do you want to make it work for you?
Yeah, I did a documentary called Made in USA, and the thesis was somebody was going to live on only Made in USA products for 30 days. And ultimately, he couldn't do it because let's say your glasses that you wear, they might be 99% American, but the screws are only made in Germany. Like we don't
Yep.
even manufacture them in the U. So where is the line where it's like, oh, well, this is or isn't? We're all drawing on someone. Like you just said,
Mm-hmm.
acting, the very nature of acting is mimicking. You're taking something from someone else and giving a performance of what you would think based upon what? Your previous past history of people that you know. I love Tolkien. I love C.S. Lewis. Of
Yep.
course, I'm going to draw from those people. It's still going to be my signature piece. Um, Check this out. I wasn't planning on doing this. I hope I don't mess this up, but I think this was a pretty cool way. I'm working on this steampunk sci-fi Jack the Ripper investigation story, and I thought this was a pretty cool use of AI. This doesn't go into my story, but these are two
Mm-hmm.
of my characters. And look at that. It gave me a color palette, a complete
Yeah.
breakdown of the character, different faces from smiles to, angry and the stuff they're wearing. Just a cool, really
This is
cool
great.
breakdown. Yeah, I thought that was like, and again, that's just internal use. This is just for me to be able to use my characters. One of the ways that I do is I'll write my first draft myself. I'll put it through AI and I'll rewrite it again because I like the way it formats it. I like the way it structures stuff, but I still want it to be me. I want it to be my words with things. So I think, where do we draw the line? We're drawing off something. And if you understand AI, it's just trained on it. It isn't stealing or it's going to do an exact Ron Newcomb replica. It's just zeros and ones. It can't future think, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can only give what was given. And so to me, it reminds me of all the books I've ever read, all the stuff I've ever had in my head. I'm doing the same daggone thing. So the line starts to become extremely blurred. But for filmmakers, who are a little nervous about AI and want to honor the artist before them, what would be a good, safe first step if they were like, okay, let me try this out? What would you recommend?
In that case, I think it's really important to focus on the things that are not taking from creative, right? So that's where research, it's really great for research. And we all have to do research, whether it's the topic that you're making a film about or your documentary or whatever, whether it's trying to figure out who your audience is, looking for financiers or people who may be willing to invest in your film. It's really great for that. And that's not stealing anybody else's work. That's helping you surf the internet much faster than you would on your own. Or you could even look for things like refining your own pitch. Hey, here's my pitch. Give me feedback on where I might be weak if I'm talking to this type of investor or I'm talking to this type of distributor. And those things really help you as a filmmaker to hone your craft and hone the things that are not necessarily in your wheelhouse a lot of times, right? Not everybody's great at marketing, not everybody's great at building out a pitch deck, but having that extra eye that you don't have to pay $5,000 to is really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I find that it's definitely going to be a great equalizer. I admittedly, I do have a almost like a love hate. It's I wouldn't call it that strong. It does scare me a little bit. Like I do see the jobs that it could impact, the people and all that. So here I want everybody to, I think hear our heart, hear my heart. I understand that. Heck, I just got laid off from my day job. So I know what that feeling is of those things. I see the tidal wave and the tsunami of that. However, I also think there's some extremely powerful, positive things that it's going to be able to do. Like, for God's sake, it's probably going to be able to cure cancer for us. It's going to do things like that that we just can't finally get over the goal line because we just don't have the information to be able to do that. From like a filmmaker point of view, I love what you said, research, character development, this type of stuff. One of the things I've done is I gave it my whole character bio, and then I would go in and ask it questions. I would say, you are this person, give me your backstory. What, was a childhood trauma, all these cool little things that you might be able to do with it. How are you, there's so many coming online. How are you kind of keeping track and doing research for AI and all the different tools? Do you have any specifically that you're like, hey, team, this is what I would recommend? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I early on I used to track everything. Oh, this new one, I got to try it.
Yeah.
And then I realized that every week there was going to be something new, right? And so unless there was just a really big game changer, I'm not taking my time anymore to follow all of them. But I also have a little bit of an advantage in that I own a tech company and we support media companies. So I have a team of engineers and developers who, even when I'm not looking, they're looking and pointing it out to me, which makes it a lot easier. Not everyone has that. Um, but my focus is usually on what are the problems that I have that I'm trying to solve, and is there anything out there that does it? And so your example for writing is a perfect example. I like to use AI sort of as that first version of coverage, like, hey, is this consistent with that character? And can we brainstorm more? How would you react if you were this character? And building that out. And I realized that it was good, but then I started to use a lot of tokens talking to these characters. And
Yeah.
so I built a tool that I could host locally on my computer now where I don't have that issue anymore, right? So I think it's really understanding the problem you want to solve first and just looking for what can help me solve that problem, versus trying to keep up with everything. Because if you do that, it's overwhelming and you're gonna get buried.
Yeah. There's a YouTuber. It's, I want to say Matt White or Willett or something. I'll put him in the show notes for sure. But he has this really cool website that you go to, you put in what you want, like a search, let's say screenwriting, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
list all the AIs out there. It's super cool. This
Yep.
guy is like he's the one trying to stay in front of it, but he created this almost Google for AI, and you can go and use that. I'll put that again in the show notes if that could be a benefit. So, Damion, I'm a big fan of yours. You're doing data research analytics. To me, I'm all about, does the market want your story? Because
Yep.
it isn't just passion with that. I know we talked specifically about AI, but I know you're such a guru on other things. Where can people find you and support you?
Yeah, if you want to check me out, I'm on LinkedIn, Damion Taylor, pretty straightforward. And my company is called Pyrphoros, so Pyrforos. I've been really big into Greek mythology, so my last two companies have been something from Greek mythology. Um, but yeah, Pyrphoros Technologies, and in that we're building out AI tools for writers. Right now, we have a new one coming out, which is called Private AI, my Private AI. You can download it, use it on your computer. It's actually, I built it because I was using it for myself. I didn't want to have my computer connected to the internet all the time, and I still wanted that brainstorming help. So, yeah, LinkedIn, Damion Taylor, or the company, Pyrphoros Technologies, or you can look for pyrphoros.io.
So, Damien and I want to thank you, Damien, for coming on, but we knew this was going to be a little bit of a contrarian take. We knew that, this is a button issue, but it is here, and we do want to help and provide a different point of view, perhaps, than what everybody might be trying to push, which is kind of just this neutral vanilla. If this conversation challenged you, don't just pick a side in the AI debate, pick a standard and ask yourself, where am I guessing right now? Where can I do research better? And maybe where can I pressure test my idea before I spend money? Those are some great use cases right there. ChatGPT or Claude are probably the biggest LLMs. Maybe I would throw Grok in there as well. So start there. And if you're an indie filmmaker trying to build smarter, more investor ready projects, make sure you follow this podcast for more conversations like this. Otherwise, I appreciate your time. And remember, everyone, nothing is wasted. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Ron.